I want to start today's discussion with two people that many of us know from the New Testament, and they are Paul and Silas. Story goes in their pursuit of Christianity that they were at one point put in jail. And so folks have written much about that, including black folks. The song that I'm referring to is called Hold On. Key phrase, Paul and Silas, bound in jail, got no money for to go that bail. Now, obviously, this is not the King James Version about what happened to Paul and Silas. This is coming from the black hand side. But it's really universal, because if you're in jail and you don't have any money, you won't get out of jail. So that's how the whole verse started. But then there's a message that comes from on high. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. And that's what's really significant about this music. And it drew me to it, as it has a lot of folks, including people in the civil rights movement. Now, when I was a young man, I went away to Amherst College. I think it was my mother's secret plan to get me out of Richmond, Virginia, because that's when the demonstrations were just getting started. And the key player there was this group called SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. This is when, even before they got started, but they were to become SNCC. And I wanted to be there. I said, Mama, can I be there? She said, no, they don't want young people. They don't want high school students because y'all don't know how to be nonviolent. I asked Charles Sherrod about that many years later, and he said, no, we didn't say that. We had high school. But anyway, that was my mother trying to keep me from the front line. So I went away to Amherst College. And one point I heard that the SNCC Freedom Singers were going to be singing at nearby Smith College. So I had to go. I went there with great expectations. I wanted to be in the movement. I wanted to be with the young people in SNCC. So I went down there with my ears wide open. And sure enough, they sang this song. Paul and Silas, bound in jail, got no money for to go that bail. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. I'm sitting on the edge of my chair, waiting for what's coming next. But then at one point they said, maybe it was 2 or 3 verses later, but they said, Paul and Silas began to shout, jail door opened and they walked out. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Now, everybody who was movement oriented knew what that meant. When you shout, when you shouting in the streets, that's where you had to be to make your biggest impact. Paul and Silas began to shout. It meant that you had to be out there in the street all over the country pursuing what that really wanted to be. You want to be free, you got to get in the streets of America. It's kind of like another biblical reference. Remember, Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. That means Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. And the walls came tumbling down. Joshua had to walk around, I believe the Lord said, walk around 2 or 3 times. And sure enough, the walls came down. That's another shout. That's another shout. But we're not going to use Joshua here because I don't have so much time. So let's go back to Paul and Silas. Their shout was different in the 1960s. So today, when we go back and listen to that song, Paul and Silas bound in jail, got no money for to go that bail, and later on, Paul and Silas began to shout, jail door open, and they walked out. That's what we were doing. We were shouting. But now, today, does that same formula apply? If we're going to shout, who are we going to shout to? What's the nature of that shout? We have to examine. We have to examine what that shout is all about. When do we shout? How many people have to be there to make a difference when we shout? And I'm wondering about that. Have we done all that we can do to think about it? Well, it's still one of my favorite songs, if not my most favorite. But I know for sure that that shout has to be reimagined. It has to be examined, whispered to your neighbor, winked at under your breath, holding hands with those you love and you trust, but all the time understanding the punchline. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. But in all cases, know that God is still the editor-in-chief of this story, the newest version of that which is yet to come, which means we still have to hold on. We still got to hold on. We got to keep our eyes on the prize and hold on. Paul and Silas bound in jail, got no money for to go that bail. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Only thing we done was wrong. Let injustice last so long. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Best verse. Only thing we done was right was to stand up and begin to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Yes. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Da, 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 da. And that's the blues. And that's another song. Da da.